significantly different forms. So that's why it's important to understand both these is both have to be treated. Some of the more modalities can work together with PTSD, but there's an element that's separate from moral injury, with moral injury. Pathways to moral injury. So we have acts of commission, something you did, something someone did to you, etc. But then we have acts of omissions, which we hear a lot with veterans and probably most people, humans, right? This, I should have done this, or I was not able to do what I really needed to do, what I should have done in this situation. And so, I remember a sergeant major, she retired after many years, and being a woman in the military, she knew what other women went through, but she never felt really empowered to do something about it because as much rank as you might have in the military, you're still in this system, a very limited system. You can only do what commanders allow you to do. You can only do what the mission allows you to do, and so on. I retired as sergeant major too at a very high rank in a 3-star, a very high command. But and people would always say, "You're a sergeant major, you can do whatever you want." Actually, none of that is true. I'm a sergeant major, I get paid a lot, but it seems like there's more that I can't do than I can do. And so, after she retired, she felt like, you know what, I betrayed all these women because I should have done more to help them, and I didn't. And to what my response was, I've been a sergeant major too, and I know that often we feel we should do more, but we really can't. If the commander doesn't care about an issue, he doesn't care. And it's not, so you shouldn't feel bad about that. But she did. Oops, what happened? And so that's a common moral injury thing. It can be betrayal by leadership or systems. Sometimes systems betray us. It's not the leader, it's not the person, it's not the commander. It's the failure of the system to be able to do anything. Like I talked about these lawyers in family law. The system didn't take care of victims. The lawyer can make all the case they want for sole custody and whatever it is, protection. And the judge can, you know, depending on the limits of the law and other things, there may be nothing that can really do to help that spouse or that divorcee. And that's not only hard for the person and the child, but it's hard for the social worker or the counselor or whoever that's trying to help through that situation because you can't, you're in a situation where you can't that victim still has to share custody or children with the abuser, and what can you do about that? So that's where you talk about workers in these systems are also um, can be damaged. Being the target, I mentioned sexual assault, those kind of things. Having to take the fall for something that's not your fault, having to take the fall for lack of resources. Maybe that happens in the medical profession. Uh, could happen a lot. We see that in politics for sure. Um, then one thing that's interesting, we found in our research where we didn't survey, we interviewed 20 military spouses of service members with PTSD. And we were asking them about moral injury, and we found that long-term exposure to repeated conflicts can also cause moral injury, so that it's not so much as just one particular incident that happened, but it can be an accumulation of incident after incident, like soldiers who have to deploy over and over again, just a constant exposure to threats, violence, what you see overseas, the kind of moral violations you might see from the commanders and so on, over and over begins to build up to where um, by the time they retire, or by the time they leave the service, or by the time they come back from several deployments, they have PTSD, they have moral injury, they're forever changed in some way. It also happened for the spouses, because when your service members deployed, while they're gone, you're afraid, you worry all the time something's going to happen to them, you're worried about, whatever. Um, but you're handling the kids all by yourself, you're paying all the bills, you're doing all the things you used to do, plus the service member did. while you while they were while they're gone. So just this buildup of stress, um, and it can be in any profession, like what we in the medical field we used to call burnout. Now we recognize there's an element of moral injury to this burnout because of the long-term exposure to these ethical conflicts in the profession. So, I've been talking a lot. Any feedback or any comments or any questions about anything so far? Anything that, as I'm going through this, triggers some thoughts for you?